Hi, my name's Owen Blackwell. I'm Acting Senior Sergeant, currently obviously in charge of induction at the Police College. I've been a police officer for 35 years and over 20 of those has been remote service in bush stations and the rest has been in major centres throughout the Northern Territory.
Hi, my name's Michael Kent. I'm a Senior Constable in the Northern Territory Police Force. I've been in the force for almost 20 years now. The large majority of my service has been in remote communities. I think it's something I always wanted to do throughout my younger years, certainly, and then I got distracted with life and work and family and stuff. Then it came to a point in my life where my wife and I decided if we were going to do it, we were going to do it then. And we went through the process, and it wasn't until we were flying into Darwin in an airplane that I realised it all suddenly got very real.
So I was very young when I joined, I was 19. I'd been mining in Tennant Creek and returned to Brisbane. And my dad had been a police officer for 20 years in Victoria and New Guinea. I grew up in New Guinea and the lifestyle of the territory attracted me back then, late 80s. And I was bumming around in Brisbane doing different jobs, and Courier Mail had an advertisement about Northern Territory Police, so I applied, got accepted, and I think I rocked up here with a suitcase and a box of books. That was it. I remember getting picked up at the old airport, so the tin shed, as it was back then. Sergeant Bird picked us up and drove us here. We were the first squad to come through here at Berrima. And as we were driving up McMillan's Road, now Vandalin, driving up McMillan's Road, and former executive officer Kate Vandalin, who was my training sergeant, she was running along the road. This was January, and I mentioned the fact that who's that idiot running along the road? It was about midday, and he informed me that was my new training sergeant. And that was welcome to the Northern Territory. I'm going to be running in the middle of the day in this heat. Yeah. I've never had so much fun. This job has given me the opportunity to travel the whole of the territory, and I've taken that opportunity. I've worked in the southern, in the deserts early on in my career, right up to the top. I've worked on the Tiwi Islands, worked Groot, Gove, Kalkaringi, which is the history that's involved out there. It's fantastic. Groot Island, the history of the Blue Mud Bay decision, all that stuff really interests me, and it's been a joy, and I've really, really loved it. We're settled in Darwin now. Our kids are now grown and we have grandkids. So
in remote communities, you're all things to all people. You have people coming up to you wanting help, not necessarily police help, but in all kinds of facets of life and family. People who have English as a fourth or fifth language, we would take for granted, they need help for. So can you help me with this? What does this mean? Put this in simple English, what does this mean? Do I need to do anything? And they really come to trust and know you and depend on you for a lot of stuff, because you're like an umpire a lot, you're a neutral party, kind of trusted. So in the city, you're always meeting different people. You go to a job, hi, my name is out bush, they wave you down and they say, I know you, can you help me? And that's that building of rapport, the trust, the relationship. You just don't get it in the cities as much, I don't think. No, the remote work is fantastic. You really are immersed in the community.
Yeah, and engagement before enforcement, which is what you want to do in a community. You're not out there necessarily to enforce the law, but it's an education and engagement process. What Michael said about not understanding a basic concept. I remember taking a young fellow through his driver's licence and had to explain to him what a built-up area was. He thought it was driving through mountains. So there's that concept. And at Kintor Hawley, he tells a great story about taking one of the old Chilpies through his firearms licence, and the test at the time had you climbing into a boat with a firearm, whether it was legal or not. And this old Chilpie's never heard of a boat because he's been in the desert his whole life. That type of stuff, just managing just the day-to-day stuff and explaining to people the different concepts. I took a group of recruits down to Adelaide River yesterday, and we talked about the death of a mate of mine and how after we'd spread his ashes at the Daily River, I was talking to a couple of the old fellas there having a beer, and they were trying to get the concept of that his ashes are now in the river. It's very different to the way they deal with their dead culturally. That type of stuff, being able to engage with community people at that level is fantastic.
I think remote too, it's policing by consent. You've got 2 police officers, you've got 400 or 500 people in the community. If they don't consent to you policing, you can't police no matter how forceful or strong you try and be. You work on their consent and you'll have a good time. In the city, you don't get time to build that consent. Just immediately I'm flooded with memories, good and bad.
Yeah.
So many places. I guess it comes back to the people. Some of the people I've worked with have been fantastic. Best of times, worst of times. Best memories from sports carnivals to being involved with ceremonies and being invited in to some very private ceremonies. Exploring the territory. Sharing it all with my wife, who travelled everywhere with me. She's from America, so you can imagine how different that was for her. It all just flows, all these memories.
There was
Best.
when I was working on the Tiwi Islands, there was a chap with my name who passed, so they couldn't call me Owen anymore. So I had to come up with another name, and my middle name's McKellar, so I said, "Oh, just call me Mac." And one of the young fellas said, "Yeah, you're that big Mac." That humour, really, really amazing. My wife's a police officer, and she was a community engagement officer on group with us, and so her role was so very, very different. What we all should be trying to do, she didn't have any of the enforcement side of it, so she was all about engagement. So on our weekends, we were, as a family, with our youngest, we were able to go to areas with those community people that were generally closed to the rest of the island, purely through her engagement with the people. Even now, we're living in town. We've got a young girl from group still comes and stays with us. She's good friends with our daughter. Deb will walk down the road, people will stop and talk to her. The ongoing memories that you get from every community. First community I worked on was at Yuendamu, and that's obviously been in the news lately. I still have great memories from Yuendamu, and I always will have.
I got a skin name from my time in Yuendamu, from working from a very tragic event, but I ended up taking carriage of a skin name of somebody who passed away. So that's very special to me that I got given a name, but also the story behind it. I listened to Owen talk about this station, that station. I think a better question, if I may, we say, what are your best memories from this station? What's your best memory from this station? They're all different. They all have their different nuances and different peoples and cultures, languages. Every time you go to a new place, you've got to learn the language, the culture, the where you can go, can't go, taboos and that kind of thing. So when I think about my favourite station, my favourite events, I'd say, well, that station it was this, at that station it was that. It's just so varied and wide across the territory. We all think it's the same. It's not. It's different everywhere you go. Very.
It's only our youngest daughter that came with us to Tennant Creek and then to Groote Island. She had a ball. I've not had a family on one of the more remote communities. I was a single man out there, but I have worked with partners who had young children out there. And they've always, it's been great. The opportunity for those kids to learn, broaden their horizons, become more rounded people by the experiences they have on communities you can't tap into it. One of my good mates that I met at Galawinku, he was running he and his wife ran the art centre there. They're now living at Warrawee, and their boy Brando has been with them all their time. They've lived out remote. One of the most centred kids you'll ever want to meet. He's 15 now. Really, really switched on. I think a lot of the recruits we see coming through are police officers' children who have done time and spent time in the territory out remote, and they have a better grasp about who they're going to deal with, simply by the fact they've been to school with some of them and have grown up in some of those communities and understand the challenges that are faced out there before they join the police force. Always. And they get there on the front foot at the start. Yeah.
This year marks my 35th wedding anniversary. I feel a bit sorry for my wife. She's gone everywhere I've gone when I've been posted. And again, like I said, American, nice anyway. And how does somebody, and she's an academic, and going to all these places, and we've had times where I've been out of community and someone's come up to the house, a woman in distress with a baby, and my wife's had to let her in, make her comfortable, try and help her, and trying to get me on the sat phone or wherever I am. I said, well, I've got to be back in 8 hours. Or a community member comes and wants to borrow something, and you let them in. He says, oh, can the kids come in? You say, sure. And 6 naked children come in and start running around your house. But my wife took it on the chin and was just rolled with it, just fantastic. But the amount of time at Evan Downs when the floods in 2008, I drove away to check rising waters and I didn't come back for 2 days because I got cut off. And she talks about getting the household belongings, put them into garbage bags because the water was coming in under the doors. And then it steadied, and she ended up manning the phones in the police station because people were ringing up wanting to know. The other police officer was out saving lives, so my wife was in charge of a police station for a while without batting an eye. Never signed up for it, never swore an oath, but became an integral part of each station we lived at. And I wouldn't still be here, still now, if it wasn't for her. Well, you can't shut us up.
The first week's always a blur. I think your first day, they probably wouldn't even remember who spoke to them on their first day. One of the biggest bits of advice I give to any recruit squad is to work on their empathy and their compassion. We are a police force, however, the Commissioner spoke earlier, we're not going to arrest our way out of a lot of stuff. So you need to be able to engage with the community, and sometimes the best course of action is to sit under a tree for an hour instead of spend 5 minutes locking someone up, and you'll get a much better outcome long term. One line I always use is there's 2 rules about being a cop. You get home, you don't end up on Facebook, which is unfortunately what we're likely to do very soon.
Yeah. The one thing I go on and on about is to try for yourself, to make your own opinion up. I mean, you can listen to other people, and that includes us, and we say, oh, this is great, that's great, but I tell recruits, and they come in and say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and I say, well, look, if you can relieve there, if you can try before you buy, just keep an open mind. Everything that Owen said, but also you hear people just don't let other people make your mind up for you. Don't be a robot, make your own independent mind. Try it for you and just try it for yourself. I always thought I was going to go down the investigation avenue, and then I got exposed to remote policing, community policing, and I haven't been anywhere else since. That has become my passion. Because I had no idea, but I'd listened to negativity, and when I went out there, it's like, you guys are nuts, this is fantastic. So keep an open mind, try everything you want to try, and expose yourself to things you might not like, because you might surprise yourself.
I think for me, given that when I started the job, we didn't even have computers. We still used to whack out on an old Olivetti typewriter. And I can admit my experiences with them, and I've made plenty of mistakes in my career. But what I can now say to the recruits is, like what Michael said before, be honest to yourself. And I can, when we're lecturing, when we're talking, we relate everything back to an experience, not so much a war story, but something lived, so that you can say we do it this way because of this is how what happened to me. This is what I know happened to Joe, and that's why we do it this way now. My role here is to prepare someone to be a good duties copper, to prepare them to be safe. I tell all squads that I have good friends that still are out in the van, and if I'm not comfortable that you're going to go out there and they're going to be safe in the van, then I've got a problem. So I need to work on each person so that when they go out and get in the van, I'm comfortable the person sitting next to them is also going to be safe.
It's a fine balance. We've got 50 years of policing experience, but I don't want to be the guy, I'm sure Owen doesn't either, that, back in the day, these new recruits are going forward, today's the start, and what they're going to be, the equipment they'll use in 10, 20 years is going to mind-boggling. We make jokes about, does anybody know what a fax machine is? Or even worse, a telex machine. It's moving forward so quickly, and we have to impart our experience without sounding like old fuddy-duddies, like, it's all horrible today, you should have been back when I was young and when I had hair. It's all different back then. So how to put across the part you are a part of this historical and all this lineage, and look, take it forward, move it, make your own history. Let's keep this going. There is history, but let's not, dwell on it too much. Let's carpe diem, let's seize the day, let's go forward. A real balance. It gives us a chance. We'll talk.
Latin out.
Hey?
We're pulling Latin out.
Oh, read a book.
Oh. Look, I think someone nowadays needs to be truly empathetic, and that's a two-edged sword. You can't take too much on, but you need to have a good understanding of how a person is thinking when you approach them, when you're talking to them. To be unable to put yourself in their shoes makes it very hard to be able to help them. And ultimately that's what we are here to do, to help them. So you need to be able to listen to what they're saying, be empathetic to their situation, not necessarily sympathetic, but certainly understand where they're coming from, and make an informed decision.
But we want people to think for themselves, to apply the law when it's necessary to apply it, when it's necessary to perhaps ease off. So if you're looking to come in and just, run, chase, thump and be tough and everything, I think we're looking for more of a mix. Empathy, brains, the ability to apply the legislation in the circumstance, given everything involved. So it's a mix of all these things. So a balance, that's what we're looking for.
How to read a situation and make an informed decision, and sometimes that informed decision is find reverse gear. You may well need to back off, and that there's nothing wrong with that.
Who are willing to say, I made a mistake. Lord knows.
Never.
Never admit it. You have to be committed. Coming to the college, it's not a 9 to 5, 8 to 4 job. You will be getting here at 6:30 in the morning for PT, then you'll be in class all day doing legislation. And then in the afternoon, some extra subjects because we've got so much to fill. Commitment, and that's just in college. When you get outside, the Commissioner earlier today was saying, don't expect for this to be a 30-hour week. He will ask, and it will be expected by him and other members of your team to put time, effort, travel, to leave home at a moment's notice. If you come here expecting you're going to get a nice government job, then you are not going to last long. It's a fantastic job, well remunerated, holidays, it's a fantastic job. But if you're not going to be 100, and I mean 100% committed, then go somewhere else.
Yeah. Come here with your eyes wide open about what the territory is. It's not dull. There's so much more to see and do. You get online, there's so much information online nowadays. Have a look around. Make some early decisions about your career path. Obviously here in the training, we're preparing you to be a general duties officer. But have something in mind and do your research. Everything's online nowadays. Like Michael said, this is not a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday job. You will be expected to do a shitload more, and your time when you're at work is not your own.
And talk to your family about it, because I might be having a boys' own adventure out there. My wife's at home packing up the belongings, ready to go to a flooded house. It doesn't just affect you, it affects your family. So talk to your family before you join. Make sure everybody understands this is going to involve all of us. You're not just joining a police family, but it's going to have repercussions on your own family at home. Sometimes for good, sometimes for bad.
But not just your immediate family. You join the police force, after a while you change, your attitudes to life change, you become a little bit more aware of what goes around, and your friends will notice that, and your extended family will notice that. So I always thump it into every recruit I can find that there's a book by Dr. Kevin Gilmartin, and I ask them to read that, and I ask them to have their family read that so they can understand when little Johnny changes from the little Johnny he was before he joined to what he is now, 5 years in. There's an understanding of it, so that Johnny's just a little bit more aware about what's around him nowadays because he's been under the spotlight for so long.
And dealing with things that everyday people don't want to deal with. That's why they call for us. That affects a lot of us in certain ways, and that's part of.
But if someone who wants to join, I reckon go for it.
Yeah.
35 years in, I'm still loving it.
Yeah.
Where I am now, it's great for me. I'm enjoying it. My wife's particularly enjoying it because I'm not out in the front line anymore.
My wife too.
But if I had the opportunity to go back out bush, I would in a heartbeat.
I probably would have gone bush earlier. Even though I went pretty quickly, I would have joined the job earlier and I would have gone bush earlier. But then I did join the job a bit later and I had that life experience, and would I appreciated what I was going into had I joined? Yeah, no regrets.
No.
Maybe one bush one.
And it's still a great job, it's still a lot of fun, and still so much you can see in the Northern Territory. You're not stuck just in one of the towns rolling a van all the time. You can get out
amongst the policing family, and you're not your whole career one spot. You can do this and then you can do this. Both of us have been to many bush stations and been plain clothes and done all these other things. It's like changing jobs but staying in the same company, but the same. It's really good. There's a lot of, you get bored or not so much fun here, we'll go over there and try that, and then a few years later try that, and travelling around. So travel, pay, fun, experiences, and stories that nobody believes when you go see your family.
I gave up telling stories.
Yeah, they asked my wife, is that true? And she goes, yeah, and then they don't believe her.
Yeah. That's good. You said your wife was very, very well educated.
Yes.
How?
She's academic. She has poor taste in men, but she's clearly very well educated, very academic.
Yeah. Look, I said it before, I'm still having a ball.
Yeah.
The police force is a roller coaster. You're going to have ups and downs. You just need to ride it, and you'll come out the other end. And I'm still having a ball. Everywhere I've been, there's been ups and downs, but when I look back on it, what sticks out in my mind is the good times, because that's what I choose to remember. There's always going to be dark stuff. As long as I ground myself each time I'm thinking about stuff, I've had a great life in this police force, and I've got many years to come still. Yeah.
I'd say if you think you know yourself, if you think you're pretty self-aware, join the police force, then you'll meet the